Hello. The question is, have you eaten yet? I mean, so the reason why I'm asking that is because I've got my breakfast here. Okay, so whilst we're talking, I'll be munching away. Okay, right. Now, the reason why I'm calling now is because, I saw a very interesting episode today, this morning, a part of it anyway, of Richard E. Grant's hotel series. If you don't like Marmite Trough, I love it. But anyway, right. And he was talking about how this hotel, I think it was in France, was host to Salvador Dali. And they had various snippets of Salvador Dali signing these very different scribbles, whatever. And of course it had his very, very pointed moustache. No, I don't have a pointed moustache. I don't have a beard anymore. I haven't had a beard in a long time. And lastly, because my wife doesn't really want me to grow a beard. So I think she might notice if I do grow a beard. So anyway, right. So getting back on track. Okay. So we're talking about Salvador Dali. Okay. Now, the reason why I mentioned Salvador Dali is because he's featured in various incidents in my life several times. Not him personally. His artwork or whatever. And it talked about how he'd done all these fantastic paintings and these fantastic art pieces. But in this episode, he was there. He was there, being shown in these short snippets, with this incredibly attractive young woman. And Richard E. Grant was interviewing this not so young woman after like 40 odd years, and she was talking about her experiences. Okay. Now, all this made me think about how a few years ago, a different woman alleged that Salvador Dali was actually the father of her child. So, in order to get DNA samples from Salvador Dali's body, because obviously he was dead at the time, they exhumed his body. Basically, they dug him up. Whew. Yeah. Now, I don't know who it was, but it was basically expressed that when they opened up the coffin, that Salvador Dali's skeleton still had the pointed moustache. I know that especially if it's treated with various different things, it's one of the slowest things to actually rot. But anyway, we're getting off subject here. Right, so there's this woman. She was alleging that he fathered her child, I think it was. And so they were getting a DNA sample from his body. Not really that surprisingly, they found, I'm putting on the glasses for dramatic effect here, they found that there wasn't actually any link. He wasn't actually the father of her child. And I think a lot of people are probably not that surprised about that. How can I put this delicately? One of his art pieces is called... Yeah, I've still got my breakfast here. One of my art pieces... One of his art pieces is called Freudian Slip. Anyway, we'll get onto Freud in a minute. But anyway, right, one of his art pieces is called The Great Masturbator. I'm not lying. I'm not telling fibs. You can do a search on it on Yahoo, Google, whatever. You can find it out. It is called The Great Masturbator. And how can I describe this without... It's quite autobiographical. Okay? Right. We'll just leave it at that. Okay. So, the woman's allegations that Salvador Dali was the father of her child was obviously disproved because he couldn't father children at all. Anyway, which leads me on to talking about another incident, a personal incident, where I was invited to visit a friend of mine called Tracy, and he had this particular flat, and all the windows in his flat were boarded up, and you'll understand why in a minute. All the windows were boarded up, and he showed me around his flat, very nice place, and he showed me into his bedroom. He wasn't making play for me. He wasn't making a play for me at all. And he is bisexual, and he was having a fling with a transgender person. Anyway. So we settled in the lounge, and we started talking about things. And what was very unusual at the time was that my friend was addicted to heroin, and it was quite strange having this sort of like rational conversation with him, this in-depth conversation with him whilst he was there getting a foil out and the heroin, and it's like, I did not say anything. I'm not into drugs. Years ago, I was occasionally into marijuana. Marijuana resin, the pure stuff, not the stuff that's mixed with whatever. Anyway, so he was there on this foil, putting the heroin and sorting it out and doing that. But we ended up talking about all sorts of different kind of things, including eventually Salvador Dali and Freud. I think largely because of the art pieces, the art exhibitions I've done. I'm an artist. So he brought out this coffee table book. This is Tracy, and he started talking to me about how Salvador Dali was very strongly influenced, inspired by Freud and some of the theories of Freud, which obviously Tracy was very well read, and so obviously was Salvador Dali. Anyway, it didn't. Freud didn't affect Salvador Dali's personal problems as far as physical interactions with people, but that's another story altogether. But it was very interesting talking with Tracy, because years later I saw Tracy again at a series of films that I was hosting, presenting, and maybe we should be talking about that another time. Bye bye.